I'm trying to understand whether we've reached that point of peak pessimism, Europe, peak optimism, the United States. How would you approach that question now?
We're pretty close, let's put it that way. You wouldn't want to be, to say it's definitely done, but if you add the bits together, in the last 6 months, we've revised up consensus forecasts for 2021 GDP in the US by 2%, let's call it 3.5 to 5.5. We've revised down the forecasts for the Eurozone by 1.5%. That's a mad move in terms of the scale of it. We've seen this dramatic move in yields higher in the United States relative to Europe, all at the same time as nothing much has happened at the front end of the curve. The Fed's still doing what the Fed's doing. And remember, it's 366 days ago since the Fed effectively wound up a series of moves which said, we've got this. And gave us a long period of super low rates. None of that's changed. That's why the dollar's weaker today than it was way back then. So, yeah, I think we're in the I think we're in the last act of the dollar bounce, frankly, at this point. But it's going to play out over probably weeks, not days, because that's the nature of it.
This is a really important point, Kit, and it actually runs counter to what other people have been talking about on the show for the past couple of days, that we're in the last act of the dollar bounce and that we're pretty close to peak optimism with the United States. Are you calling for a significant weakening in the dollar throughout the rest of this year versus the euro?
Less significant than the move that we had from 107 to 123, but we should get back to a higher high than we saw in January. I don't think this move's done yet. I think the bulk of the move comes when you get more global optimism. At the moment, it's more a relative story than a global story because the US has done so much better in every regard than almost everyone else. When the goodness spreads and we get optimistic about everything, then I think you'll see a more conventional weaker dollar story, underpinned by Fed policy, underpinned by capital flows. But that's only going to sort of feed through gradually in the course of the next few months. But yeah, at the end of the day, the dollar was very, very expensive and is still expensive because the US had exceptional monetary policy compared to the Bank of Japan and the ECB. That is no longer the case. And the dollar can't go on being this expensive.